Hey everybody, it's Boardman21 and today we're going to do things a little bit differently. Recently we uploaded our version of the most powerful OP sets that you can craft so that you can level our alts super fast. It's also a great guide for the first affixes that you should be looking for if it's your first time character ever. And basically to sum it up, it was go for dodge and go for health, and your survivability will go up substantially. Now, this is kind of a part 2 guide. Now, since we haven't done full beginner's guides, what we're going to do in this guide is going to be show you the first 3 skills that you should specialize into as every class. No matter what build you plan on playing at the end, these 3 skills will be the first ones that you're going to want to specialize into and specialize in the way that we have it so that you can do the most damage and also have some survivability and be able to make it through the entire campaign. Once you get to endgame, you can respec. The other 2 skills are your skill of choice, and you can make a build based around those once you get to it. The reason I say to pick these 3 skills that I have chosen is because these 3 are ones that will get you all the way through endgame, specialized the way they are without you having to respec and without you having to change skills midway through the campaign, which can be really pricey and time consuming and even cost you a few deaths. Now, of course, once you get to endgame and you decide that you want to specialize around something else, it's a lot faster to respec skills once you're in the end of time doing arena and monolith of fate runs and you're level 50 plus, and at that point you can go ahead and change these the way that you want. This is of course only my opinion. It may not be the best, but this is the way that I always run it, and I mix this with my OP sets and I can power through Deathless through all of the chapters to endgame in just a matter of a couple to a few hours. Alright, with that, let's go ahead and start with the Acolyte. For the Acolyte, the first 3 skills that you're going to want to specialize in, and in this order, is going to be first, Rip Blood, which is unlocked at level 1, you get it right off the bat. Number 2 is going to be Wandering Spirits, which you get at level 8, and you can't specialize your second skill till level 9, so it works out pretty perfect. And the last one is going to be Transplant, which you unlock at level 13, but you can't specialize until level 19. Now, for how you want to do these skills, I'm going to do this in the order that you want to do it so you can come back to this and you can build from this point. Now, your very first point, I recommend you go straight to Eviscerate. This is automatically going to give you a blood splatter, which is going to do a hit in a large area. This makes it a great AoE, and it's going to give you a bunch of blood orbs coming back to heal you. This makes you tanky and do good AoE damage right off the bat in the game. From there, we're going to put 2 points into Hemomancer, then we're going to go with 1 point in Gushing Wound, and then 1 point in Septic Wound, and now you're already into Poison. Once you've done this from there and you have your poison, this is your choice. From here, you can start putting points. I like to put 1 point in Splatter just for a chance to do a second blood splatter. And then I like to max out the poison. And by doing that, that's 4 more points in Gushing Wound. So I will put 4 points in there, and then I will max Splatter next and put 4 points in there. Once you've done that, you're going to be at least to the end of time by this point, more towards like chapter 5 or 6, because you're already going to be level 14 with the skill. After that, it's pretty much your choice. What you have going right here is 2 blood splatters guaranteed in an area, and they're going to have a 100% poison chance because we've converted that bleed to poison, which is going to make you deal 1, a lot of damage, especially when we tag team this with Transplant, and 2, a lot of blood orbs coming back to you to heal you at all times. Now, to make yourself a little more tanky, you can take the blood orbs and get more health granted per orb, or you can go into the blood splatter area and you will have a bigger AoE. I'm going to go ahead and tell you that I would switch back and forth doing 1 point each. The final 2 points doesn't even matter. You'll be at endgame by the time you get this to level 18 plus. Alright, next we have Wandering Spirits. This will be the second skill that you specialize into. And what you want to do is right off the bat, you want to give them a ranged poison attack. So you're going to put 2 points in Souls of Rage and then 1 point in Spectral Putrescence. As soon as you do that, Wandering Spirits are going to be OP. They are now going to start attacking with a 100% chance to poison from a distance, and they will have a chance to do that. There's a 40% chance every second. Once you've done that, the next most important thing is to start getting as many wandering spirits as possible. And what I have found is the duration and the reveal rate are the two things that are going to help you the most. Now, because the cooldown is also good and you're not suffering from mana with this build, I would recommend putting the 1 point in Lingering Souls and then maxing the cooldown first. I would then put 3 points in the cooldown, and then you can switch back and forth between Thin Veil and the duration. Since we have 1 point here, I would put 1 point in Thin Veil, keep going back and forth as you level it until you've maxed out the Lingering Souls. Then I'd max out the Thin Veil, and after that, the final 3 points I would put into the Soul of Filth, which increases the quickness of how fast that they can shoot those poisons out. The last 2 points, if you decide to keep Wandering Spirits around, would go into Spectral Scorn for their rage. And now for the third skill that I would specialize into as a beginner. Now, once you hit level 19 and you get that third specialization slot, I would take Transplant. And the reason why, the first thing you're going to want is this Dance of Blood. So 1 point goes into Acolyte's Fervor, and then the next 3 points goes into Dance of Blood. And what this does is it now casts Rip Blood 3 times. As soon as this skill's level 4, you're now going to be casting Rip Blood 3 times. You have the double splatter, and you have the poison chance. So with no weapon, no gear, that means that one cast of Transplant is going to do 6 splatters, each with a poison chance, which means you're getting 6 stacks of poison right off of 1 transplant. So you just transplant it right on the mobs, right on the bosses, and the Wandering Spirits poison is going to stack with that, and you're going to get some good damage through the entire campaign super quickly. After this, it doesn't really matter what you do. If you are having trouble surviving, I would at least get 1 point into Bone Armor, and then after that, I really like the detonations. I would put my points in Detonation, 3 points in Depravity, then I'd put 2 points in Scarlet Rain for another 3 detonations with Black Mirror. A lot of people like to get mana back. This isn't a super heavy mana build, so I wouldn't even bother going up this route. The Pools of Blood don't seem to heal very much. I wouldn't go that route either. The other thing that I would do is just get more Bone Armor, or even get your mana regenerated, but the cost goes up. I would put 2 points in Bone Armor, another 2 points in Apostasy, and then the 1 point in Drink Deep. The final 2 points are going to be your choice to put anywhere on this that you want. And that, for the Acolyte, is the first 3 skills and how I would use them. This will get you through the campaign extremely easily. Now, before we move on to our next character, the Primalist, I have an added bonus for you. If you happen to have these in your stash, these are 2 items that will really help you along the way. We have one, the Viper Tail, which gives you poison and slow and increased dodge rating, which is going to make you a lot more harder to hit. And the poison chance applies to you, the Rip Blood, the Blood Splatter, and the Wandering Spirits. The Viper Tail is something that you can get very early on in the game. I would recommend that as soon as you hit level 6, start gambling just regular sashes for a great chance in getting them. Now, the other thing, which is much harder to get, is the Plague Bearer Staff. If you happen to have one of these, the moment you hit level 40, I would throw this on. Yes, you will be near the end of the campaign probably by this point, but your damage will go up like crazy with this. Now let's move on to the Primalist. Alright, for the Primalist, the first 3 skills that I would specialize, and in this order, I would start with Summon Wolf, which you get at level 1. The second skill, which you can start specializing in at level 9, is Summon Saber, which takes 10 points in the passive tree, and by level 9 you should have 10 points in the passive tree. And the third skill, which I would start specialization in when you hit level 19, is Maelstrom, which you will have with 15 points in the passive tree, and you will easily have that by level 19, even if you don't complete the quest. Now, when it comes to leveling these, the reason that we went with the Wolves and we went with the Saber is because, 1, you don't have to get in the fight, and 2, they do really good damage early on in the game. For the Wolf, the first thing that you're going to want to work towards is increasing your maximum companion and having an additional wolf. And if you don't have the Claw or the Fang, the second thing that you're going to want to work towards is being able to summon up to your companion limit. So the first thing I would do is put 2 points in Savage Hunters for some more damage, 3 points in Tundra Stalkers for some flat cold damage and increased stun chance. And then I would put 1 point in Winterborn and 1 point in Pack Hunters. I did accidentally click 1 extra point in Tundra Strikes. We're just going to go ahead and ignore that. There would only be 3 points there. And then to go the other route, I would put 1 point in Canine Agility. We are going to go the damage over time route. 3 points in Serrated Claws. 1 point in Crippling Wounds, and then the 1 point in Safety in Numbers. And this will allow you to get the maximum companions or maximum amount of wolves up to your companion limit, and it will give you +1 wolf. So at this point right now, without having a mastery in Beastmaster and without any without Ardor's Legacy or a passive point at the top of the Beastmaster tree, you can have 3 companions, and right now you could have 3 wolves. You'll only have 2 because you're going to have a Sabertooth with it. But we are also going damage over time. If you do have the Claw or the Fang, which I believe the Claw is the one you can wear at a lower level, you won't need to go up this route, and I would recommend just taking the damage over time and sticking with the poison. Either way, on this one, I also recommend Ice Bite because it can be extremely powerful. However, I'm going to put the final 4 points straight into damage over time because their poison can get ridiculous since there's multiple wolves all attacking at the same time. Now, for Sabertooth, this is going to be the second skill that you specialize in at level 9. The reason you want the Sabertooth is because it does really good base damage at the very beginning of the game, and it will even help you take out things like the Fire Dragon, so you don't have to come back later in the game and kill it, and it can do it quickly. The way that I would build it is the first thing you want to do is give it Bleed Chance. Then down below, you're going to take 2 points in the attack speed, and then 1 point in the 50% increased attack speed and the melee bleed chance. This is huge for it. You do not want to go any farther than that. Now you want to backtrack, and you want to go up to the Patient Predator, and you're going to give it a bunch of damage over time. You can put the full 7 points in here if you want, but we're just going to do 4 for now. This is a huge amount of damage over time for it. Now, we're not doing any more melee damage, so you don't need to go over here and take this. If you do have troubles with it staying alive, which you shouldn't very early on in the campaign, you can get it more dodge. However, I have no trouble with it, and I can usually get minion dodge on items. So the way I'm going to run it is I'm going to go straight up to the Ice Tiger. Once you have the Ice Tiger, I put 1 part in the Frost Nova, and I'm also going to put 1 in the Vortex. After that, you don't really care about the cold damage, and remember, you're just bleed, but you do want the cooldown recovery so that it's casting these 2 things very frequently. I'm going to put the full 7 points right into that. If you don't care about those too much, put 3 more points in Patient Predator, and you can get the damage over time. However, this is how I have it set up when I go through the campaign, and it does really good damage. Now for Maelstrom, this is going to be the 3rd skill that you specialize in, and you'll be able to do it at level 19. The reason that we're going with Maelstrom is because 1, your pets are going to be out there in the mist fighting for you, and you're basically just going to be running around, probably using an unspec'd Swipe or Tempest Strike. You might even be doing a bit of Leap. But with that, with Maelstrom, you can get incredibly good dodge, especially if you're stacking it with your gear. And the way that you want to do that is by getting first 2 points in Whirlpool for the stack duration, and then you're going to go right here and put the next 3 points straight into Sleet-Footed. Now, since once your minions are already up and going, you're not going to have to use your mana for anything other than Maelstrom. Now, some people like to do Entangling Roots so that they can heal their pets, or they like to get Edera's Blessing, but the thing I recommend to do here is, since you're going to always want to have Maelstrom up and running, we're going to get some heal. So I would put 2 points in the Chill Chance, which is defensive for you. It's going to slow down all of those nasty mobs that are coming for you. And then I'd put 3 points in Healing Winds so that it will now heal you and your minions per stack 6 health per second. This is really useful because now that this is the only thing that you're spending mana on, you're going to get a lot of stacks, and you're going to be able to do a lot of healing with it, on top of it making you very, very defensive with its high amount of dodge. You'll basically be untouchable, your pets will be killing things, you're kind of going to stay in mid-range game because you're going to want to hit the mobs with Maelstrom at the same time as healing your companions. With that, you want to be able to get as many stacks as possible, so the next next 4 points is going to go straight into mana efficiency. With the 4 points left, I would put 1 point in the stack duration and the rest into the area so you can slowly start getting out of the fight, especially as you get towards the end of the campaign and it starts to get more dangerous. If you do get this to level 20, the final 2 points, I recommend putting it into the area to try and stay as far away from the fight as possible while still hitting the mobs and healing your minions. And that's the 3 skills for the Primalist. Some uniques that I would recommend that you have for the Primalist, if you have these, I would wear them while leveling up. And number 1 would be the Claw, because this is going to let you summon up the maximum number of wolves that you can have as soon as you hit level 4, and you can get this by just gambling the Brass Amulet pretty easily early on in the game. If you remember that in the tree, we went all the way up to number or safety in numbers, you'll be able to get out of that nod and put those points somewhere else, probably in Ice Fang or something that does more damage. The second thing is, if you get a Beast King or have a Beast King, you can put this on at level 13, and it gives a huge amount of minion health, and it lets you and your minions take less damage depending on who kills who. You also get pretty good melee damage with this, and if you're using something like Swipe or Tempest Strike, this will help you do decent damage with it. If, however, you're doing your damage based on Maelstrom and letting the pets do their damage, I would use a Scepter instead and do some custom crafting on it and try and get things like mana regen or increased spell damage and things like that. You can also put minion damage. You don't get minion damage over time till later, but again, if you've already got a high level character and this is an alt, I would craft that and do like a tier 2 or tier 3 on that for as you level up and give those minions more damage. The other thing is, when you hit level 30, Edora's Path is also a great choice. This will give you and your minions increased speed, more healing effectiveness, which means Maelstrom stacks will heal you for more, and a chance for Entangling Roots to be cast as you move. It also gives you a little bit of health. Alright, let's move on to the Mage. Alright, and for the Mage, the 3 skills that I've chosen that I use the most is Elemental Nova, Mana Strike, and Flame Ward. And this is going to be quite controversial now, especially considering the recent Flame Ward nerf that it received. It used to make you so OP throughout the campaign with the amount of ward that it could give you that, stacked with ward on hit and Mana Strike, you could almost never die. However, since that's changed, Flame Ward could almost be replaced by anything else, and the fact that Lightning Blast, Glacier, and Shatter Strike are not in this list is what's going to have people being a little controversial about. However, those are great end game skills, and other than Lightning Blast, those ones aren't ones you get super early in the game and you won't already be spec'd into them. However, I would recommend using those for your 4th and 5th slots to really help you out towards the end of that campaign, but you can do the entire campaign with just these 3 skills, so let's go ahead and get into it. The first skill that you're going to want to spec into is Elemental Nova, and you get this unlocked at level 2, the exact same time that you're allowed to specialize into it. I like to go full lightning with it. So what you're going to do is first 1 point into Lightning Nova, and then I'm going to go with 3 points into Elemental Expanse, and then the 1 point to make it channeled. The moment you take the channeling is when it becomes OP. It now hits 5 times per second, and if you have a weapon that has lightning damage on it, or damage while channeling, although you won't get that on your solo self-found character right off the bat, you'll find that it does really good damage, and it's a nice AoE that takes a lot of mobs. Its single target can be a little less, but that's why we have Mana Strike, and if you don't like Mana Strike, I would recommend Lightning Blast, because single target with Lightning Blast is really good. Now, continuing on with this, the next points that I would do is increase its base critical strike chance. This will make it almost 100% crit if you have a lot of critical strike chance in your passive tree, which you'll get over time, and that 100% crit makes it hit really hard. Then I would fill in the rest of its area, and then we're going to work our way straight across on here with 5 points in spark charges, so you now get 2 hits for 1 with some additional hit damage, and the final 3 points in overcharge. The next skill that I would level up is Mana Strike. Now, this skill unlocks at level 6. You can't specialize till level 9, but the way we're going to use it is just to give you a bunch of ward on hit and mana back. Now, the first thing you want to do is put 9 points into Ward Strike. This is what's going to give you 9 ward every time that you hit an enemy with it. So what's really nice is for single target, you're basically for every hit you do getting 9 ward, which is going to help protect you, and you're going to be running a high dodge set if you pair this up with my OP set, so you're almost never going to get hit. The next thing is attack speed. 5 points is going to go straight into attack speed, and that's so that you can get that ward stacked up as fast as possible. I would then go with mana, so that you can get a lot of mana back, and you can go right back into using Elemental Nova. After that, I want area. You can turn this into a pretty decent area. It's not going to be like Elemental Nova or anything, but if there's a few melee enemies right on top of you, you can now hit all of them. 5 points in that, and you're going to have 2 points left, which I'd put into the mana gained. I don't do any of the mana gained into ward, but if you only plan on using this as your main skill instead of the area and the extra mana drain, I would recommend getting Transfusion and Mind Warden, because this is going to allow you to stack a lot more ward and be a lot more survivable in the late stages of the campaign. And for the third skill, which unlocks at level 9, but you're not going to specialize until level 19, is going to be Flame Ward. And the first thing you're going to want on it is the 5 points in Star Ward defense. After that, since we're relying basically on a whole lot of dodge, again, that's if you've paired it up with the OP set in the other video that I made, you don't need to take the damage reduction. In fact, I would completely convert this into an offensive skill. And what I would take is 3 points in dilation, then we're going to put 1 point in infusion, and since we're doing Lightning Nova, we're going to convert our bonus of the 50% fire damage into lightning, so that every time this goes off, we're getting additional lightning damage with that Elemental Nova. And since you can do this probably around level 20, you're going to start hitting pretty hard with it. After that, I max out the infusion, so every time this goes active, your lightning damage will go through the roof. And the final 4 points is just going to be into some more ward. We're going to put 2 points in energize and then 2 points in recollection. Like I said, if you want damage reduction, instead of the 4 points down here, I would just go straight into the less hit damage. And that's it for the Mage. If you are looking for items to pair up with this that do well, there are 3 items. The first is going to be if you decide to go fire instead of lightning on your Elemental Nova so that you can target it instead of channel, I would recommend Calamity. It will give you a lot more ignite chance, and it comes with some good fire damage. Now, if you do stick with the lightning, I recommend Storm Tide Boots, which you can start wearing at level 24. These are going to give you over 100% chance to shock on any lightning hit, which will, with the AoE of Elemental Nova, hit all enemies. They'll all be shocked, and it gives you a big chance of increased shock effect. The other thing that you can team up with this if you're really focused on the Mana Strike portion is the Humming Bee. Every time you use Mana Strike, it gives you ward. You can now do incredible attack speed when you have the Humming Bee, and it will give you an additional 5 ward gain on melee hit. I think you can get up to 6 or 7 with it, and you can start wearing this at level 6, which makes you OP right off the bat. Alright, let's move on to the final character, the Sentinel. For the Sentinel, the first 3 skills that I'm going to recommend that you take is Vengeance, which unlocks at level 1, and you can start specializing first, and it's going to be great for its damage reduction and great attack speed. 2 is going to be Hammer, and we're going to do the Throwing Hammer Void section of it, which unlocks at level 3, so you'll spec into it at level 9 when you unlock your second specialization. And Lunge will be your 3rd skill, which unlocks at level 4, and you'll start that at level 19. Now, first up is Vengeance. The way we're going to level this is for the attack speed first, and the damage reduction follows. So we're going to start with 1 point in Double Riposte, which is going to take the attack speed first down 10%, but then we're going to have Rapid Strikes, and we're going to put 8 points straight into that. That way the attack speed will be really fast on this skill, and you're going to get that 40% less damage almost at all times. Then we'll put 1 point in Executioner, and the next 6 is going to go in Bolster, and this is when you'll start getting towards the end of the campaign, and you're going to take a lot less damage. The final points, you're going to put 4 points into Dark Duelist, and that will be your global increased damage so that you do more damage with it. If you want, you can also leave 1 point out of Rapid Strikes and put the 1 point in Zealot's Technique for the additional riposte and an additional negative 10%. If you do take this one all together, you will be at a 66% damage reduction, which makes you really tanky, and the skill itself will do decent damage. For the second skill, which unlocks at level 3, but you're going to use it in the second specialization slot, which you get at level 9, is going to be the Void Hammers. The first thing you're going to want to do is 1 point in Rapid Throw, then 3 points in Weighted Hammers, and then boom, Disintegrating Aura, and this does a lot of damage. Then what you're going to do is going to get multiple projectiles, so you're going to put 1 point in Winged Hammers, you're then going to put 1 point in Steadfast Path, and then you want 2 points in Catapult. What this is going to do is give you a bunch of Void Hammers that all fly out. If you haven't seen it, this is what it's going to look like, and it looks really cool. You have a bunch of Void Hammers. You can see they overlay, and each one's going to do really good damage, and they're really good for early campaign and just destroying everything. Then you have 8 points left, and at this point, it's up to you what you want to do. You can start doing negative mana cost. You can slow them down so that they hit the mobs for longer. You can do additional attack speed, or you can make the Disintegrating Aura damage go way up. This is my recommendation. I would put the next 6 points that you have straight into the rapid, and then I would go for the slow. And then after that, the final 3 points I would put into the attack speed. The cost of this right now, with the way that it's set up, is only 15, which isn't horrible. And with the fact that every time that you use Vengeance now, due to the passive trait, you can get 10 mana back. Every time you're out of mana, it goes straight back to doing Vengeance. And then when you're full mana, you can do more hammer throws. For the third skill, which unlocks at level 4, but you're going to use in the third slot, which unlocks at level 19, and this one's controversial. You can change it out for something else if you want. If you've unlocked Abyssal Echoes or Ring of Shields or something else that you want to use that's either really offensive or defensive at that point, you can. But Abyssal Echoes and another thing I'd recommend is Smite. But Abyssal Echoes, Devouring Orb, Ring of Shields, things like that are probably going to be in your fourth slot, which will be after this point. If you are going to use lunge, the first thing I'm going to recommend you get is that you're going to be invincible while lunging. So you're going to want 1 point in Tactician, 3 points in Forge On, and then the 1 point in Unstoppable, so that you're invincible while lunging. After that, the critical strike chance and the damage that you can get increases from this will help you do a lot more damage with Vengeance. I would recommend that. I would now put a 2nd point in Tactician, 1 point in Initiative, and then the full 5 points in Avenger's Charge, so that you're basically going to always crit with Vengeance, especially if you get more base crit chance on a weapon. I would then finish off the additional armor and stun avoidance with a 4th point in Forge On, 1 more point in the mana efficiency so that you can use it as much as possible, and then just for some extra damage, I'd put straight into the base crit chance. The final 3 points, I would max out the Deadly Aim and then do the area. There aren't any items that I'm going to recommend using with this, other than you could also stack the Humming Bee early on, just so that you get some ward on hit and attack super fast with Vengeance for fast kills and a lot of tankability. Alright guys, that wraps up all 4 of the classes and the first 3 skills that I choose to use when I level them up. Now remember, I will link my other video that has the OP set, the things that I recommend you put on your gear right off the bat, or if you're leveling an alt and have a high level character, fixes that you can craft on your high level character and then use on your low level new characters that will make it to where you're basically unkillable. And if you match that up with these skills, you're going to be able to speed run through the campaign extremely quickly. I have made it completely deathless all the way to the end of Chapter 7 and done it in only 2 hours. We finished the entirety of Chapter 7 at only level 26, which is incredibly low. I have not yet done it all the way through Chapter 8. I also was not using a Tier 3 set. You'll know what that means if you watch the other video or if you've seen it. But mixing these with that, I plan on doing a speed run this weekend just to prove how viable it is, and we're hoping that we can finish the entire campaign, all of Chapter 8, even though I've never done Chapter 8, in just 3 hours, and hopefully deathless. Alright guys, that's going to wrap it up. If you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend that you do. You're going to get all of the updates you'll ever need from Last Epoch on my channel. However, if I don't satisfy everything that you need, there are a lot of other great people out there. I would recommend that you look up Thighworm, look up Rhymed, and you also have Vulcan, And Apprentice Corner, I believe, is starting some now. Alright guys, that's it from me, and have a good day.